Hello and welcome to UGC channel. Recently, UGC has released a date sheet for Phase 2 exam, and according to which the law paper is scheduled to be conducted on 14th October. Again, the opportunity is provided to the aspirants. Hence, it is advisable that you stick to your preparation and make it perfect. Therefore, considering this, I'll share some brief on important provisions given under the Sale of Goods Act, since this act is one of the special type of contract and it is relevant for your UGC NET exam as well. Hence, let's see the important provisions. So to start with, first important section is section 4, which talks about sale and agreement to sale. So these two are completely different concepts. Let us see how. So under a sale, the property in goods sold passes to the buyer at the time of making contract so that he becomes the owner of the goods. Instantly he is becoming. Right? But in case of agreement to sale, the ownership, it doesn't pass to the buyer at the time of making a contract. He will become owner of the goods once the certain time period has been expired or on the fulfillment of some condition. So the agreement to sale becomes sale when the conditions has been fulfilled or the certain time period has been expired. In short, you may also say it that sale is the executed contract and agreement to sale is the executory contract. Next important section is section 12, which talks about conditions and warranty. So these two are the important concepts given under Sale of Goods Act, but they are different from each other. Let us see how they are different from each other. So condition, if I talk about, it's a stipulation that forms the very basis of a contract and it is essential to the main purpose of the contract. So what is stipulation? It's a provision which is present, right? The two parties are entering into a contract. So they set some of the provisions, right, between them. And if that provision is essential to the main contract, it is known as condition. And if this condition is getting breached, then the party has the right to repudiate the contract, right? So it's a remedy available to the aggrieved party. But in case of warranty, it's also a kind of provision which is present under a contract. But the moment the warranties are breached, the remedy available to the aggrieved party is the damages, right? So in these kind of cases and violation or the breach of warranties, the parties cannot entirely repudiate the contract, but they can only claim the damages, right? So this is what the difference between condition and warranty. Next important concept that comes under Sale of Goods Act is Doctrine of Caveat Emptor. Right? You must be knowing, let the buyer beware himself. So this principle states that it is for the buyer to satisfy himself that the goods which he is purchasing are of a quality which he requires, right? If he buys goods for a particular purpose, he must satisfy himself that they are fit for that purpose. And this doctrine is being embodied under Section 16 of Sale of Goods Act, right? When you look Section 16, right, from the Bare Act, you will find 4 exceptions to it. What are those 4 exceptions? I've also mentioned on your screen. So see, if these 4 exceptions are there, the doctrine of caveat emptor, the buyer has not, the burden is not entirely on the buyer, right? Let us see what are those exceptions. So if a seller makes a false representation or the seller actively conceals a defect in the goods, or when the buyer relying upon the skill and the judgment of the seller, and where the goods are bought by the description from the seller, right? So in all these 4 conditions, the doctrine of caveat emptor will not apply, right? But in general condition, in a general situation, this doctrine is going to apply. The next important concept which comes under Sale of Goods Act is unpaid seller. The provisions related to which are covered from section 45 to 54. But firstly, let us just understand that who is unpaid seller, right? So when the person is considered to be unpaid seller, when the whole of the price has not been paid to the seller, or when the conditional payment was done by the bill of exchange or other negotiable instrument and the instrument has been dishonored. So these are the 2 situations which is given under section 45, and when the seller faces these kind of situation, he is known as unpaid seller. Now let us see that what are the rights which is available to the unpaid seller against the goods, right? So basically there are four type of rights which has been available to the unpaid seller. First is right of lien, right of resale, stoppage in transit, and rights to withhold delivery, right? Now if I talk about right of lien, right, it has been covered from section 47 to 49 and section 54 is also there. So what is lien? Lien is keeping goods in the possession and refuse to deliver until the fulfillment of the price, right? Now how the unpaid seller is going to exercise this right? So the unpaid seller who is in possession of the goods sold, he may exercise his lien on the goods. How? By keeping the goods in his possession, and he will refuse to deliver the goods to the buyer until the fulfillment or tender of the price in cases, right? So this is known as right of lien. Next is right of resale, which is given under section 54. So the unpaid seller may resell where the goods are perishable, where the rights has been expressly reserved in the contract to resell the goods, and where in the exercise of right of lien or stoppage in transit, the seller gives notice to the buyer of his intention to resell, right? So these are the three conditions on the basis of which the unpaid seller can exercise his right to resale. Now there comes the stoppage in transit, right? What is it? So it's a right of stoppage in transit. It's a right of stopping the goods while they are in transit, resuming possession of them and retaining possession until the payment of the price, right? So this is known as stoppage in transit. Last one is the rights to withhold delivery. What is that? If the property in the goods has passed, the unpaid seller has the right to withhold the delivery, right? When he can withhold the delivery when there is non-payment of price, right? So these are the rights which is available to the unpaid seller against the goods. Okay. Next topic is rights of unpaid seller against the buyer, right? So under this context, section 55 and section 56 is relevant. Let us see what are they. So under section 55, which talks about suit for prices, under this there are two situations given. First is that where the property in goods have been passed to the buyer, and the second situation is that when the property in goods have not been passed to the buyer, and the buyer in both conditions, he has refused to pay the price to the seller. So in these two kind of conditions, or in these two kind of situations, the unpaid seller may sue the buyer for the price, right? It is given under section 55. Now if I talk about section 56, which is damages for non-acceptance. So herein, where the buyer wrongfully neglects or refuses to accept and pay for the goods, then the seller may sue the buyer for the damages or breach of contract, right? So these are the two rights which is available to the unpaid seller, which is against the buyer. So these were some of the important sections which is given under Sale of Goods Act. Apart from them, there are other provisions also which has been frequently asked under the UGC NET exam, and I have just mentioned before you also, so you can just go through them. Like section 5 is there, section 6, section 17, and the other sections are also there. What you have to do for these kind of sections, just have a cursory reading of Bare Act language. It is sufficient for you, right? You don't have to do beyond that. Now, one piece of advice I would like to share with you is just go through, like when you are doing the revision of subjects, what you should do is just go through the index portion, especially of the minor acts. If you have observed from the previous year papers, you must have seen that from the minor acts, like questions related to the arrangement of sections have been usually asked. So going through the index will help you to, know the sequence of the sections which has been arranged under the Bare Act. So that will be hugely helpful for you. Thank you for watching this video. If you have any concern with respect to UGC NET exam, then do share your views in the comment section box. Please like and share this video with your friends, and do subscribe to Research channel to get the further updates.